contextualize the stopover for all of you in terms of telling you the journey that we've been through in terms of sustainability. I think, Anna Cecile, I met you the first time in June 2017 when I heard about ocean sustainability, and I immediately was excited. I wasn't quite sure why, but I knew it was something fresh and new, and I knew that it was something as a human being one should embrace. But the journey that we've been on and what the end result has been, to me, has been enlightening and, quite frankly, very good for business. So I think the message that I want to put across, and I'll take you through the journey, is that the two objectives are not necessarily apart. If you do them correctly, they actually work together, and you can have an end result that works for all parties. So when I heard about sustainability, I knew a couple of things. I knew that South Africa, the South African government, had invested heavily in terms of Operation Pakisa, which is all about driving the ocean economy. I knew that the city of Cape Town, when we did the 2010 FIFA World Cup, was very much focused on the green city and all the aspects that go with that. Having the pleasure of working with the VNA, I knew where they were in terms of sustainability and their future goals itself. But also, being a Cape Townian, I knew how important the ocean was to people who live in Cape Town. The VNA football over that period has just been over 1 million people. So there's a great opportunity then to actually communicate to those people and use sustainability as a base, and then by proxy market the Volvo Ocean Race and their objectives. So that's how it started. But in the end, those of you who know, the race has come here 11 times, but the world has changed. And unless you can find a sustainable business model, you've got nothing to work with. So in my language, the mantra always is, do sport marketing before you do sponsorship marketing, which basically means you've got to build a base before you can have a platform to achieve multiple objectives. So in the end, the first focus that we had was to say, how do we build a sustainable business model for the future? And ultimately, it's three key platforms. One, a public-private partnership. Two, working with the Volvo Ocean Race to understand where they're going in terms of what their strategy is, to see potentially can we actually match the strategy, and is there a long-term benefit for both parties to carry on. And the last one, looking at the ocean economy and saying, how do we actually use the ocean economy to drive jobs and help transformation. So in terms of the public partnership, we have now, for the last two races, had a partnership between the V&A Waterfront and World Sport. The City of Cape Town then obviously benefits hugely from the Volvo Ocean Race, and they're part of it. And over the 6-year period, we've managed to understand what each party's objectives are and what roles we can play, and how three different parties in the end can achieve multiple objectives. In terms of the Volvo Ocean Race, we've begun the chats. Obviously, there was announcements to the Volvo Ocean Race in terms of the next decade and what they were trying to achieve. And we've had talks on that to say, how can we be part of it? And I think on Monday we have a workshop which says, okay, the stopover is finished. What is the future? And what role can we play? And how do we actually understand each other? In terms of the ocean economy, we then identified different areas to say, yes, the Volvo Ocean Race is here, but if you talk about the blue economy, and you talk about what platforms can be driven from the blue economy, and in terms of, in particularly this sector, which is the ocean sector and ocean racing, and we identified various areas that could be grown. Obviously, one has the sports tourism element, which is pretty obvious. You have the skills development, which is then linked to this. You have the destination marketing. And then ocean sustainability is what we're talking about now, where we identified that that was a platform that we could actually grab hold of and bring it to a local content and have local platforms which we then could drive. Ultimately, in the end, the biggest driver here in terms of job creation is then boat building, and it's a sector that's been identified, and how do we actually grow that sector. So we got somewhere towards the business model. We are pretty clear where we are. There's a plan that's getting developed from that side. David announced last Friday, I think it was, in the commitment to the Volvo Ocean Race Company, which is focused on ocean racing and ocean node, which in the end we can focus around berthing for professional yachts, as well as then a event center where we can house future events, and then ocean race experiences, which ultimately in the end, Cape Town is at the tip of Africa, and into racing terms it's the gateway to the Southern Ocean. How do we actually build on that? But obviously the one is, how do we get a South African team in the Volvo Ocean Race? And ultimately, if we don't do all those previous things, and we don't prove to people that ocean racing actually helps drive the economy, creates jobs, and does transformation, we will never have a South African team in the Volvo Ocean Race. So here's our program that we've put together. So first of all, the VNA, and led by David and Andrew up there, put a program together to say, how do we actually get this message to the general public? And that's through various events, being the Ocean Sports Festival that we had, Ocean Life Cleanup, the Vienna Ocean Life Festival Theatre, a film festival, TED Talks, and then we had an amazing thing with the Dutch concert, which was co-create art using plastics. So we had a relationship building exercise essentially between a whole of Dutch artists and South African artists had to use plastics, and then there were some winners that came out of it. And then we said, yes, okay, we've got the Ocean Summit here, and as Anna-Cecile mentioned, we didn't really realize, I think yesterday I said to someone, like, you know, when you buy a car and you think you're the only person who has that type of car or that color, and wherever you drive you actually see that car, and you suddenly realize you just actually were looking at it from a certain point of view. What ended up with, from our side, as soon as we said, fine, we want to do an Ocean Summit and we want to go and find the academics, suddenly everywhere we were, there were just South Africans and Cape Townians that dedicated their life to this sector, but they just hadn't really found a common platform to pull it all together. And so hence we ended up with a 2-day Ocean Summit. Yesterday I spoke at the Western Cape Regional Government, where we pulled together all the major events in Cape Town, and we presented our ocean sustainability plan and what we had actually done, and then the rest of the day it was debated as to how we can actually integrate that into all the events. We had a Dutch trade mission that came out here, and ultimately their whole focus is on sustainability, but also then looking at the water crisis. And we're missing one here, but we were very proud. We managed to, UN UNESCO, who have an annual conference in Paris. I believe it's never operated outside of Paris. And we managed to convince them to have it in Cape Town over this period because of what we were doing. And the basic result was we need to be part of the bigger picture, and the platform that we had created actually fitted their objectives. And then we specifically went down to say, okay, in terms of education and in the Cape Town environment, we managed to say to Anna-Cecile, we understand sustainability, we understand plastics, but we have a water crisis, and how can we turn the expertise that you have and the network that you have to try and help solve the water crisis in terms of education, and maybe bring in some expertise to Cape Town to try and help solve the problem. So in the end, from a boatyard point of view, all water that's used was in the boatyard, all water used to clean boats came from potable water. From a hospitality pavilion, we did the same things in terms of high-use areas like bathrooms, and the drinkable water all came out of fountains. And then, as we said before, Blue Water partnered with us in terms of, if you walk around the V&A waterfront, we have these machines that actually come from the V&A's grey water. And those of you who've actually stood there, I find it quite fascinating. People walk up and they see it's grey water, and they pour the water, and you can see the reluctance before they take a sip, and then the relief afterwards. It actually tastes quite nice. But we extended it slightly in that in Cape Town, in South Africa, we've got a company called Consul Glass that I suppose has lost out a bit of market share to plastics. and they jumped very quickly at it. And so the on-site promotion basically is you bring a plastic bottle in, they give you a lovely, beautiful glass bottle, you go get free water, and in your mind you go and hang on, glass is better, and I can actually drink grey water. So that has worked extremely well. The type of activities that we've done to try and spread the message, obviously, is pure education in terms of activations. A fun innovation thing was actually with the Dutch having bicycles to move around instead of hiring cars. Beach cleanups, Ocean Festival, and the last one on the right-hand side we're pretty proud of. I think Hilton's up here. That's the Cape 31s. Now you're talking about the ocean sector and sustainability and wind actually creating jobs. We had a problem in sailing in Cape Town in that the guys who had the money were winning the races, essentially. And one of the wealthy benefactors said, I'll tell you what, I'll start a new one design class and I will subsidize the build costs so that's actually affordable. That was 18 months ago. Last weekend we had the first regatta of the Cape 31. There were 7 boats in it on a one design. Boats built in Cape Town created jobs. So you can do things quickly. So 18 months ago we were like, what are we going to do? And last weekend we had 7 boats, one design in Cape Town. So in the end, as I started off with saying the journey that I went through, when I started off as a gut feel to say, I want to be known as a good human being, so therefore I will tell the Volvo that I'm quite interested in sustainability. The end result is what we found was that we had a whole new communication platform that we could talk to different markets and different people. We found there was a lot of people out there that were interested in this space and you could partner with in such a way that not only would they help fund the stopover, but they would help fund activations, which actually makes the village come alive. And lastly, we did a study beforehand to say how much water would we be using if we just used water through all the elements. And that was 1 million litres of water. At the end, we ended up, and we've only used 100,000 through actually focusing our mind. And that 100,000 means has actually affected our bottom line. So we actually made money by doing good as part of it. So for us, it was kind of fascinating. I can honestly say that's not how we started out, but that's where we ended up. And what we have done now is we've partnered with a company called Tono Zero, because we don't like believing our own press. And there's a study being done now as a sort of a gap analysis to say, where were we as the Volvo Ocean as Cape Town stopover? What did we do and what could we do in the future? And so we can look at it and have some learnings. We've only started the journey, but quite clearly we committed. Committed so much so that my company, World Sport, is now going to take the concept of sustainability, now that we've seen the triple bottom line, and we're moving it into all our mass participation events that we have. And these events are big events with high impact with lots of people. So I'd like to end off by saying there's one last sustainable thing that needs to be done. If you're going to bring all these people and all the thought process and all the effort together, and we're having an ocean summit, it kind of makes sense that we have a sustainable plan for the ocean summit. So the V&A has an amazing festival that happens, which is the V&A Ocean Life Festival. It's timed around the same time where there is a blessing of the fleet, which is a really interesting event. It's all the fishing trawlers that dress up and they go out to sea and have some fun. The Royal Cape Yacht Club has its opening cruise. There is a boat show, and then our scientific ship leaves to the Antarctic, all roughly at the same time, and hence the Ocean Life Festival has been started by the V&A Waterfront, which actually then also includes ocean sports. It kind of makes sense that we look to see how we can take whatever we come out of this and make it an annual event. So not only can Cape Town then be the gateway to the Southern Ocean, but I think Cape Town and South Africa can be an innovation hub and a thought leader in sustainability. Thank you.